Hello friends, in this lecture we shall get to learn about some types of cyber crimes which are prevalent in the cyber world. Cyber squatting. Cyber squatting is a type of cyber crime in which the attacker registers an illegal domain name with bad intent to earn profit from a good renowned trademark owned by someone else. It is one of the most critical type of domain dispute. The primary purpose of such type of crime is to increase the count of website visitors to earn profit, which otherwise would not be possible through any other means. Cyber squatting is also referred to as domain squatting. Now, let us look at the types of cyber squatting. There are three basic types of cyber squatting: typo squatting, identity theft and name jacking. Typo squatting. This is also known as URL hijacking, sting site, fake URL or brand jacking. Typo squatting occurs when internet users make typing mistakes or spelling mistakes while entering a website address in the web browsers. For example, you can see that the correct website address is www.wikipedia.org, but the typo squatting generated the address as www.wikipedia.org, but with a different spelling. Identity theft. With the help of automated software tools, cyber squatter can register a domain name the instant it is lapsed. This strategy is one of the identity theft schemes. Name theft. This type of attack can be accomplished by purchasing an individual's name as a top level domain name. Setting up a website. Any searches done for that name can be capitalized by setting up a website. These types of name jacked sites are usually set up to sell high profit items like e-books. As an example, here is a case. Since 2006, a typo squatted variant of Google called Goggle.com has existed, which was considered a phishing or fraud site. Later in 2011-12, the URL redirected to google.com, while the 2018 check revealed that it is directing users to adware pages. Now, how to identify this? Identification of cyber squatted domains can be easy. Here are some of the pointers that we can look for. Check for domain availability. Look for similar domains. Examine the content of the website. Keep an eye for spelling mistakes while entering a URL. Countermeasures against such crimes are: register your domain with recognized organizations, stay updated with the expiration of domain certificate, re-register your domain before expiration. Let us talk about cyber stalking. Cyber stalking is the use of the internet or other electronic means to stalk or harass an individual, group or organization. It may include false accusations, defamation, slander and libel. It may also include monitoring identity theft, threats, vandalism, solicitation for sex or gathering information that may be used to threaten, embarrass or harass. Cyber stalking is often accompanied by real time or offline stalking. In many jurisdictions, both are criminal offences. Both are motivated by a desire to control, intimidate, or influence a victim. A stalker may be an online stranger or a person whom the target knows. He may be anonymous and solicit involvement of other people online who do not even know the target. So, what are the types of cyber stalking? Stalking by strangers, stalking by intimate partners, stalking of celebrities and public persons, and stalking by anonymous online mobs. Then there is also corporate cyber stalking. Identification of cyber stalking. Many cyber stalkers post wrong information about victims. Cyber stalkers may approach victims' friends, family, and office to gather information. They may check third parties' involvement who help cyber stalkers to harass the victim. Cyber stalkers check the victim's information available on social media. A victim's computer may have malwares sent by cyber stalkers to spy on him or her. Cyber stalkers order items or subscribe to magazine in the victim's name. The countermeasures against this are: you can take these steps to protect your online privacy. Change your password often. Edit your online profiles often. Review your email headers and signatures often. Use secure chat programs that do not permit tracking of your internet service provider. Use an anonymous emailer or use an anonymous browser. Then you can also use encryption to authenticate email. Discuss privacy with your server or internet service provider administrator, and do not use your home address when you subscribe to magazines. In general, do not use your residential address for anything that is mailed or shipped to you. Never verify anything like your home address over the phone. Email bombing. Email bombing is characterized by an abuser sending huge volumes of email to a target address, resulting in victim's email account or mail servers crashing. The message is meaningless and excessively long in order to consume network resources. If multiple accounts of a mail server are targeted, it may have a denial of service, in short DOS impact. Such mail arriving frequently in your inbox can be easily detected by spam filters. Email bombing is commonly carried out using botnets, which are private internet connected computers whose security has been compromised by malware and under the attacker's control, as a DDoS attack. This type of attack is more difficult to control due to multiple source addresses and the bots, which are programmed to send different messages to defeat spam filters. Types of email bombing. Mass mailing. Mass mailing consists of sending numerous duplicate mails to the same email address. These types of mail bombs are simple to design, but their extreme simplicity means they can be easily detected by spam filters. Email bombing using mass mailing is also commonly performed as a DDoS attack by employing the use of zombie botnets, hierarchical networks of computers compromised by malware and under the attacker's control. List linking. List linking, also known as email cluster bomb, means signing a particular email address up to several email list subscriptions. The victim then has to unsubscribe from these unwanted services manually. The attack can be carried out automatically with simple scripts. This is easy, almost impossible to trace back to the perpetrator, and potentially very destructive. Zip bombing. Email bombing done using zip archived attachments containing billions and billions of characters is known as zip bombing. Mail servers checking the mail with antivirus software would require a greater amount of processing power, possibly resulting in denial of service. Spamming. Spamming is a variant of email bombing. Here, unsolicited bulk messages are sent to a large number of users indiscriminately. Opening links given in spam mails may lead you to phishing websites hosting malware. Spam mail may also have infected files as attachments. Email spamming worsens when the recipient replies to the email, causing all the original addresses to receive the reply. Spammers collect email addresses from customer lists, news groups, chat rooms, websites, and viruses, which harvest users' address books and sell them to other spammers as well. A large amount of spam is sent to invalid email addresses. Sending spam violates the acceptable use policy, that is AUP, of almost all internet service providers. If your system suddenly becomes sluggish, that is, the email loads slowly or does not appear to be sent or received, the reason may be that your mailer is processing a large number of messages. Unfortunately, at this time, there is no way to completely prevent email bombing and spam mails, as it is impossible to predict the origin of the next attack. However, what you can do is identify the source of the spam mails and have your router configured to block any incoming packets from that address. Identification of spam. This can be done by email services spam folder. Email service providers use the spam folder to keep spam mails rather than keeping them in the inbox. And countermeasures to spams? Grey listing. This is the method of defending email users against spam. Mail Transfer Agent, commonly known as MTA, using the grey listing temporarily rejects the mail from the sender, which it does not recognize. If MTA finds the sender and the mail legitimate, the originating server will try again after some delay, and if sufficient time has elapsed, the mail will be accepted. Heuristic filtering. It works by subjecting each inbound email to thousands of predefined rules. The rules are for the sender, to the body of mail, and also the subject line of the mail, while still others might look at whether an image is attached. User based spam mitigation. This method is totally dependent upon the user, as the user has to mark the unwanted email as a spam manually. Sender Policy Framework, or SPF. SPF can explicitly list authorized SMTP email machines per domain name that recipients should trust as genuine. Domain Keys Identified Mail, or DKIM. It uses the DNS records to provide recipients with a way of identifying where the mail came from. The recipient of an email uses DNS to look up the signer's public key. A signature is attached to each email, and each signature can be compared to the public key for authentication. Malware dissemination. Another common type of attack is malware dissemination. Malware dissemination is a process in which the malicious files or softwares are attached to another file and are hidden. This destroys the system of the victim or leaks the information of the user to an attacker. It is one of the oldest attack vectors and can be used for a variety of purposes, from stealing data, taking remote access, or to even carry out sabotage and espionage. Types of malware include virus, worms, trojans, adware, spyware, and logic bombs. Virus. Viruses are malware which needs some host program to be executed. Some viruses may replicate by modifying other computer programs and inserting their codes. The affected program files are then known as infected files. The types of viruses are file infector. The virus which infects only files is known as the file infector virus. Macroviruses. A macrovirus infects a software application. It causes a sequence of actions to begin automatically when the application is opened. These viruses are written in the same macro language as used for application programs like MS Word and MS Excel. Override viruses. These kinds of viruses are malicious programs which, after infection, destroy the original code and override data in the system's memory. Polymorphic viruses. Polymorphic viruses generally affect the data types and the functions. It is a self-encrypted virus due to which it is not detectable by the scanners. They mutate after every infection to avoid being detected. Resident viruses. These kind of viruses store themselves within memory. They infect the other files even when the originally infected program has been terminated. Non-resident viruses. They do not store themselves in the memory. They are embedded in executable files and infect the other files each time the file is executed. Boot sector viruses. A boot sector virus is a type of virus that infects the boot sector of floppy disks or the master boot record, that is MBR, of hard disks. Some infect the boot sector of the hard disk instead of the MBR. Stealth viruses. A stealth virus is a type of virus malware that contains sophisticated means of avoiding detection by antivirus software. After it manages to get into the now infected machine, a stealth virus hides itself by continually renaming and moving itself around the disk. Now, let us talk about worms. Worms are standalone malware that replicate themselves and also spread malicious codes from one computer to another and cause same type of damage. They use network to send copies of the original code to other computers, causing them harm by consuming the bandwidth or sending documents via email or different programs. The types of worms are email worms. An email worm, also known as a mass mailer or less commonly an internet worm, is a type of worm that distributes copies of itself in an infectious executable file attached to fake email messages. Internet worms. An internet worm is type of malicious software that self-replicates and distributes copies of itself to its network. These independent virtual viruses spread through the internet, break into computers and replicate without intervention and without the knowledge of computer users. Then we have IRC worms. Internet Relay Chat or IRC are the worms that are spread via the message forums or chat rooms by sending infected files or websites using IRC channels. file sharing network worms, worms that are spread due to the sharing of infected files which contains worms within a network or to another network. Trojans. Trojan horse is a type of malware designed to be disguised as legitimate software. They are used by malicious elements such as hackers or crackers to gain access to the user's system. The types are hardware trojans. A hardware trojan is a malicious modification of the circuitry of an integrated circuit. A hardware trojan is completely characterized by its physical representation and its behavior characterization. Software trojans. These are trojans which are embedded or bound with other softwares. For example, downloading a game from internet with trojan attached to it. Logic bombs. A logic bomb is a piece of codes intentionally inserted into a software system that will set off a malicious function when specified conditions are met. For example, a programmer may hide a piece of code that starts deleting files, such as a salary database trigger, should they ever be terminated from the company. Spyware. This is a type of malicious software which sends users' personal information to a third party, that is the attacker, without the user's consent. This type of activity gives the attacker control over the user's device. Spyware can be installed into any device with the type of traditional malware vectors like websites, adware, instant messages, or a hidden component in genuine software packages. Types of spyware include adware. It is a type of malware which presents itself when a program is running. It can be generated in the form of a pop-up or an unclosable window. System monitors. System monitors are applications which are designed to monitor computer activity. System monitors basically run in the background, keeping log of virtually all programs running on one's device. Tracking cookies. Tracking cookies are used to keep track of users' web browsing habits. Trojans. These are malicious programs which seem harmless, but are designed to cause harm or loss to computer data or destroy your system. Pegasus is a spyware that can be installed on devices running certain versions of iOS. A jailbreak would get enabled on a device upon clicking on a malicious link which could read text messages, track calls, collect passwords, trace the phone location, and gather information from message. Gmail, Viber, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, and Skype. With the release of Apple's iOS version 9.3.5, the exploitation was fixed. Identification of malware attacks. Normally, malware can be easily identified by using an updated version of antivirus or anti-malware tool. In addition to these, there are good deal of identifiers that we can use to identify symptoms of malware infection. Such symptoms, also known as indicators of compromise or IOCs, can help us find malware infections speedily. Unusual CPU usage, unusual disk usage, unusually slow response time of the computer, unexplained reduction in the internet bandwidth, presence of unidentified files in the system, changes in the default pages, search engines of the system. These are some of the identifiers we can use to identify a malware attack. Fake news, often referred to as fabricated news. Fake news is a phenomena that is gripping the world and influencing socio-political decisions around the world. It is a type of yellow journalism that consists of misleading information or hoaxes spread through traditional print media, broadcast news media or social media. Fake news has been the cause of massive protests, social unrests, lynching, mob incidents and even political instability in India and several parts of the world. Such news is fueled by the thoughtlessness of people who blindly believe on whatever is fed to them over social media. Type of fake news: satire or parody. Fake news story as the humorous attempt to satirize media. These types of news, if shared out of context, have the potential to fool. Misleading news which are somewhat true but are used in a wrong context. Selectively chosen facts are used to gain headlines. Sloppy reporting that fits an agenda. Small grains of truth which are not fully verified and are used to support a certain position or view. Misleading news that are not based on facts. Intentionally deceptive news that are fabricated to make money through number of clicks. The only countermeasures for such misleading news is plain common sense. Identity theft. Identity theft, also known as identity fraud, is a crime in which an impostor obtains key pieces of personally identifiable information such as social security or driver's license numbers in order to impersonate someone else. Data breaches of Aadhaar database, PAN card database, breach of data from telecom operators or even Facebook constitute potential identity thefts. Such thefts can lead to compromise of integrity, compromise of security questions, two-factor authentication, etc. Countermeasures: digital signature can be used which is not vulnerable to identity theft. Destroy your private information and statements like credit card statements, solicitations and other private documents. Secure your social media accounts and email, and you can safeguard your social security number. Review your card's statements carefully. So, in this lecture, we have covered some of the major types of cybercrimes. Such cybercrimes are often fueled by the inactivity of the victims. Hence, if you are ever a victim of any such cybercrime, you should report to the nearest cyber cell or police station under the IT Act 2000.